Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me this evening. I am super excited to be here and super excited to share some fun announcements along with all the content that I've been working on for this webinar about taking leadership in your life and in your happiness through a process I've created that involves releasing, accepting, and aligning. It's actually a 10-step process, so we have a lot to cover this evening. But I would love to start us out with pulling a tarot card, because any of you who follow me or know anything about me or are friends, I love tarot and I pull a card every day and sometimes more, but it's something that helps me really, I don't know, gain more insight, really have a different perspective sometimes, gives me something fun to think about, and it's just a fun tool I use to really look into the universe a little further. So this is the Fountain Tarot deck, and it's my new favorite deck this year. And so we're just going to pull a card to start us off. I also do a weekly blog, and it's kind of all about learning our own truths and universal truths, and it's always inspired by tarot. So I pick a tarot card and then use that tarot card to discuss what the card's about, but also then really what it means to me in life. So it's really ties in like one of my personal interests along with all of the coaching tools and stuff I like to share with people. So the card we have this evening is the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords is interesting because it's really about kind of being at a standstill and having to make a decision in your life as to which way to go. It tends, here, I'll kind of show you the card. There, we have a little bit of glare because the sun's still up since it's about to be summer finally. The Two of Swords kind of calls us to no longer stay in that place where we aren't making a decision. It really calls us to go one way or the other in our lives. And that is perfect because it really does tie into what we're going to be talking about this evening, which is taking control in our lives, you know, taking leadership in our life and our happiness. And that's a choice we have to make. We could just let life happen to us. We could just let circumstance happen to us and move about without living consciously or with intention. And this whole process is about making the choice to live with intention. And so I really want to get into what this is about. My first title for it was How Letting Go is Actually a Form of Taking Control. I don't necessarily love the word control, so that's when I decided that leadership was such a great way to put it. We really can be leaders in our lives, or we can take the back seat and choose to just, like I said, let it happen. So this is all about how you can take leadership. It's all about, you know, when we embrace ease and stop trying to be what we think we are supposed to be and just start being who we are and doing what feels good, then that's when we're tuning back into our intuition, start following our true desires, which then leads us to alignment naturally. It's a process of letting go of what no longer serves us and releasing what is no longer needed. This process leads us to the ability to practice acceptance. And when we accept, we begin to open ourselves up. And that's when we really lead ourselves to clarity through the opening up process. So our 10 steps, I'm going to say them real quick, and then we'll go through them in a little more detail. Number 1 is releasing. Number 2 is creating acceptance. Number 3 is authenticity. Number 4 is tuning into our desires. Number 5 is establishing new beliefs. Number 6 is trusting ourselves. Number 7 is deepening into our intuition. Number 8 is letting life flow through our intuition and then leading us into alignment. So number 8 really is the alignment process, which is our kind of ultimate goal. And then number 9 is embracing ease, because although we're aligned, sometimes we still don't totally just find the ease in that. It can still be such a struggle if we let it. So number 9 is about embracing ease. And number 10 is about love as a practice, really about devotion to ourselves, devotion to our lives, devotion to this journey, and creating a life that we really love. And that's what this is all about. You know, we all want to be in control of our lives. There's so many factors that are out of control that we sometimes lose sight of it. We can feel overrun by circumstance or as if life is just happening to us. To counteract that feeling, sometimes we try to push, force, or try our hardest to regain control. we start to exist in this like warrior stance. We work hard, we fight for what we want, we hustle in every way possible. We guard ourselves from potential harm. We begin to make life difficult as we push and force our way through life. Not only are we putting out excess energy, we're actually disturbing the natural flow, and then everything begins to misalign. The more we push, the more we use force, the more pushing and forcing we get in return. Then when circumstance happens that we do not want, we begin to resist those. The more we resist what is happening, the more resistance shows up in our life. We become caught up in this cycle. This cycle is exhausting. And that cycle is really one of the reasons I also picked the date today for this webinar, because my son turns 13 on Wednesday, which just blows my mind, honestly. But it really is a story of how I got to this point. And I'm a single mother. I have a lot of support, and I do want to say how grateful I am for that. But I have spent most of my life kind of in a survival mentality, really living in that warrior state, really just trying to get by, and not taking the front seat, not being a leader in my own life, just kind of let it happening to me and doing whatever I can to get by. And also living in a state where making it harder by really getting down on how I thought things should be and not accepting how they were. And that's when nothing really aligned in my life for so long. And it's really been, honestly, this year. I mean, I've been in a major transformation process for the last 5 years, but I feel like a lot of things are really clicking this year. And it's really been since February that I've been working on this process I'm about to share with you. So I am so excited because I feel like finally, after all of this work, it really is clicking. I've created this process for a reason, because things weren't really clicking. I was putting things into practice that I knew I wanted to, which is where I kind of took some of these steps. I was trying to do the later steps first, and it wasn't working out for me. And so that's when I realized that I had to kind of create this process, when I started doing the first steps unintentionally. And then I realized that the later steps I'd been trying suddenly started working. So what I was doing suddenly was working after I'd done some of these first steps. Every step really bleeds into the other. You know, like I said, I used to try to do the later steps, and it wasn't until I did the first steps that I realized why things hadn't been working. So that's why I created this step-by-step method, because I found that when you do all the things in order, it really does start to fall in place. One of the practices I hold is asking myself every day what I need, what I desire, and how my day could feel easy and blissful. So 6 months ago, when I would ask myself these questions, I could answer them, but I could not fulfill them. I would never achieve those desired feelings of ease and bliss. But it was when I went through the process, out of a circumstance of releasing and then accepting, that I suddenly, when I asked myself those questions, I was not only able to answer them, but I was also able to make them a reality and fulfill them and really understand them, really deepen into what I did truly need and what I truly desired. And then every day I was able to find a way to achieve my desired feelings. And that's when I started to really create this method and am working on sharing it. So today's the first day I'm sharing it, and it's hopefully, this is one of my big announcements, so we'll just kind of put the announcements in throughout this webinar. I am going to be creating a self-study program with videos and also worksheets, a lot of different information of this process. So if what you hear tonight really resonates with you, if you are interested in it, if you've already gone through some of these steps and you can totally relate and have a great story, or if you're interested in going through these steps and want to work with me, please get in touch. I'm looking for people to help me build this process through interviews, through research, through practicing. And then I would love to really fine tune it and put it out there into the world. So get in touch if you're interested in following through on this process in a deeper way. So let's start with the first step, which is releasing, which what I found is this is really what has to happen first. You have to be able to let go of that excess weight you're carrying around from old beliefs, from blaming circumstance, blaming yourself, the stories we tell ourselves about how things are supposed to be, or about how they are. You know, it's kind of like, I think of it as shedding layers or shedding old skin. and that old skin just doesn't fit us. As we grow, we really can't hold on to some of these old things, and we have to let them go. So to move forward, we have to be adaptable. We have to be willing to kind of let go of some stuff. So one of my examples of things we may have be telling ourselves, and maybe even unconsciously, not knowing that we're saying them, is something like, life is a struggle, life is hard, I am damaged, I'm bad at relationships, nothing works out for me, things are never gonna work out, I was meant to be alone, I'm a fighter, I'm a survivor. These are, you know, things we tell ourselves that become beliefs. They're things we really start to live by. But that can hold us back. It can weigh us down, you know, because if that's what we believe, that's kind of what we're going to play out in our lives. And what we have to believe is what happens to us does not make us who we are. It is really a choice we have. We're going to learn from what has happened to us, and we need to make that choice to use it as a learning tool and as growing. So we can transform, we can leave behind our old skin. Sometimes we're just holding on to those negative old beliefs, and we need to let go of them. And sometimes we're also holding on not only to the past, but to the future. Sometimes we're holding so tightly onto what we think should be happening, who we think we should be at a certain age. For me, it was a lot of times like what I thought wellness meant for me. And I'd get really hard on myself when I wasn't, you know, doing yoga every day or juicing every day. And I realized that, you know, wellness can mean something to everyone else. And that's really why I'm also moving into coaching, is I want to teach people that you write your own rules. It is about you. It is about what works for you. And we have to let go of the expectations we have on ourselves, because it can be really hard to live up to some of them when they don't fit where we're at in our lives. So we sometimes tell ourselves something like, we should be married by a certain age, we should have kids by a certain age, our career should be at a certain point after we've been studying for this long. So we tend to put our worth in either what we were or what we want to be instead of what we are. So that's what this process is kind of all about, is taking a journey into ourselves, who we are now, where our lives at now, so we can decide where we want it to be and create things in our present to design our future. So we must release our preconceived notions of what should be, what should have been, so that we can be flexible when life doesn't go our way, and so we can open up for it to be able to go our way. So this doesn't mean we shouldn't live without goals, intentions, or desires. It just means we should loosen our grip and release the need for control, so that we may also release expectations and create reasonable expectations for who we are now. This process of releasing can just help us feel lighter. It can let go of kind of the weight we put on ourselves for why things happened, who we are, and these beliefs in ourselves. And so just kind of letting go, releasing. We're going to really further into this in the program, because this is something that's deep, you know, and it's a deep process, and there's a lot that goes along with it, but I really think it's something we have to go through first. And it's kind of like clean slate, new skin. We get to create something new once we let go of the old. So the second step is accepting. We really must find acceptance of ourselves, of our past, of our present. And this is something I think we are able to do when we start releasing judgment, start releasing expectations, start releasing the things that have been really holding us back. We have to accept our circumstances. We have to accept our decisions. We must accept what is out of our control. Part of this is learning how to appreciate the journey and appreciate the magic in the mess, because, you know, it's not always going to look pretty, and we have to be okay with that. And we have to find the parts of the messiness that are bringing us to the point we're at, that is helping us realize things and helping us grow. It's all lessons. So we can accept where we're at, even if there are things we want to change about it. Acceptance isn't about settling. It's about creating peace with ourselves and our lives. It's definitely not about resisting. We have to not resist. And that's what I was kind of talking about in the beginning. When we don't like circumstances that come in our lives, we tend to resist the change. And as we create that resistance, we begin to receive resistance. And that's when things get stuck. That's when we get stuck. That's when we begin to really, feel blocked in our lives and feel like we're not moving forward. So when we begin to drop the resistance and practice acceptance, we create the space to move forward. We begin taking down the wall of what was keeping us stuck, or at least figuring out a way to climb over it. So accepting is our next step. And I think it's something we take for granted. It's just so beautiful to take a moment and really just accept where we're at and who we are. And so our third step is authenticity, which really comes from acceptance and learning how to love ourselves and accept where we're at and be who we are instead of who we think we're supposed to be. So when we release what is not us anymore and we accept who we are now, we're able to tune into our authenticity, to get back to our core, to our true selves. And living authentically, I have to say, just feels good. It feels easy. We get to let go of trying to be something we are not. And we can also strive more of who we actually are. One aspect of the journey is to find our own truths, to get to know ourselves more deeply, to live our lives from a place that feels true. Authenticity is honest. It relieves us of the expectations and allows us to just be ourselves. To stay in tune with my authenticity, like I said, I do this practice of asking myself every day what I need to feel good, what I desire, what would feel easy. And that just helps me tune into my true self and really deepen into what I need. And when we really ask ourselves that, I think we're giving ourselves love. We're acknowledging ourselves. We're finding what we need. And then we're saying, yes, we're here and ready to give it to ourselves. And that elevates us, that helps our true selves rise up and shine. So I just really want to dig into what authenticity means to you. How can you live more authentically? And so this is also part of why I created this method. Is I really feel like once I went through this process, I just felt more like myself. I just felt like, oh, I was coming home. It felt like home. And I'd been away for a while. Sometimes we are away from our true selves for a while. And when we come back, we need to redecorate, reassociate, which leads us to our next step. The authenticity, though, helps us find clarity, which helps us tune into our desires and emotions, which is our next step. And so when we tune into our authentic selves, we are able to tune into our true desires and let ourselves feel our emotions, but also understand the difference. We must let ourselves feel all of our feelings, but we also have the ability to make the choice to decide how we want to feel and to do our best to make that happen. Moving through this process does not mean we're going to achieve happiness and then never feel sad or angry or frustrated or jealous. But it does mean that we are making the choice to live with intention. The intention to create a life that feels good, feels easy, feels authentic, and feels aligned. When we begin to live from an authentic place, we're able to tune into our true desires and those desires that fulfill us. This is when we do start being able to give ourselves what we need, what we desire, and try to find a little bit of that every day. And that's one thing I would like to encourage in this step is really trying every day to give yourself something you need or desire, even if it's for a moment. We can be having a bad day and still stay in tune with our desired feelings. It doesn't mean we're going to feel them all day. It doesn't mean we'll even feel them for most of the day, but it means that we're choosing not to let our bad day take us over and that we're still trying to stay aligned. So we can go through our day with intentions to fill our desire, or just use that desire as a loose guide that kind of keeps us in check a little bit throughout the day, or just try to do one thing that day. So even for one moment, we feel the way we want to feel. And I think that's a snowball effect for me, just doing something every day that got me in tune with how I wanted to feel, helped me really start to feel those feelings more and more, feel my desired feelings, which was, abundance, bliss, authenticity, aligned, these feelings I'm talking about, of deepening into. So it was kind of a snowball effect. The more I started doing it a little bit every day towards that, the more it just started to become my everyday routine and take over more of the portions of my day. So that's when we, begin to create a life that supports our wants and needs. And it's part of the foundation for building the life we love. And part of that foundation is also on establishing beliefs. They can become the support beams to our home. And that's our next step, is really creating new beliefs. As we talked about letting go of our beliefs in the first step, we're now going to move into how to create new ones. When we know our desires and understand our emotions, we can establish new beliefs. We've released the old and essentially went through a healing process to get back in tune with ourselves after having lived our old story for so long. We're ready for a new story. And we now know ourselves well enough to make the choice of what beliefs we wish to live by to help us create that story. If we let go of the idea that we are not good enough, or we always fail at relationships, or our career isn't quite where we want it, we must implement a new belief. So, for example, one of the beliefs I've established with myself this year is this affirmation I once heard from Nisha Moodley. And as soon as I read it, I said, that is something I need in my life that I've not been giving myself. And it is, I am easy to love. So this has become a new belief of mine, and I now stand by it. So I just ask you kind of, what do you wish to believe about your life, about yourself, that supports you, that serves you and serves your purpose? Because we let go of what doesn't serve us. We let go of what's weighing us down, keeping us stuck. We're tuning into our desires. So we kind of, to fill those desires, now know what we need to support those desires. So what do you wish to say to yourself every day and really create as a new belief to help you support that, so that you can create the life that really you love and gives you happiness every day? So our next step, and this is something that we come to after establishing beliefs, is trusting ourselves, because creating those new beliefs builds up our self-worth, which creates trust. We must trust ourselves to fully live out our life purpose. We must also trust ourselves before we can trust others or the universe. And we need to do it all. We must trust ourselves to follow through on living by our new beliefs, and living by our new beliefs helps us build trust. So these go hand in hand. But I really do think we have to make those choices of new beliefs, and that establishes that we can trust ourselves because we've chosen what we're going to live by. And we've made those rules. We know we're making the choice to not fall into old bad habits, old patterns. And when we do, we're making the choice to pull ourselves out of them and go back to our new belief and not stick with our old beliefs. So that trust has to build. And, when we support ourselves, we gain the confidence, which gives us trust. When we know we have our own backs, even when everything else is going to hell, we know that we have, and we'll be able to pull ourselves out of it, and we'll do the best we can. And that builds trust. The more we're able to believe in ourselves, the more we give ourselves what we need. When we trust ourselves, we're going to want to keep ourselves fulfilled. And because we're building up our self-worth, we feel worthy of receiving what we need and what we want, not only from ourselves, but others. When we give ourselves the love we need, the things we desire, you'll start seeing that back from other people. It really, what we put out in the world comes back to us. So building trust is another core foundation to creating a life we love, and it helps us access the courage to continue down the path to making a reality. We can begin to realize our dreams that way. With the trust, we not only believe we can make it happen, but we believe the universe supports us in that intention. And that's when, of course, one of my all-time favorite quotes I need to bring up is Paulo Coelho in The Alchemist says, "And when you want something, all of the universe conspires in helping you achieve it." It's just magical to me. And when I need that, I always say that to myself. And I have created that also as a belief of mine. So after we really build this trust in ourselves, we're going to deepen into our intuition, and that's our next step. As we begin to trust in ourselves, we welcome our depths to the surface. With trust, we open up, and we must open up to hear our intuition. With trust, it feels safe to be guided by our intuition. The textbook definition of intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. And that's also just ties in why we go through this process step by step, because it isn't easy just to make that choice. It's not easy to just say, okay, I'm going to let my intuition guide me. We really need to take these steps to release what's blocking us from our intuition, blocking us from the life we desire. We need to tune into ourselves, our authenticity. We need to learn to trust ourselves. We need to have new beliefs. So our intuition guides us from those beliefs, because those beliefs have become part of our core and they're so ingrained in us at some point that we automatically live by them. And that's what I love about understanding something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. And this is a process. And this is something that we have to open up to and let ourselves there. Because when we deepen into our intuition, it really leads us to the next step, which to me is, no, it's not the last step. It's aligning, and it's really letting ourselves align. When we go through this process, things start to fall into place. When we start living in our authenticity, when we start giving ourselves what we need, when we start following our desires, when we trust ourselves, it all starts falling into place. Everything starts aligning. We start flowing from our inner truths. We're able to set intentions every day that really meet our needs and our desires. And then we start kind of manifesting our dream life, because as I said, you know, what we put out, we'll receive. So if we're living in alignment with ourselves, the universe is going to conspire and align with us. And that has totally happened for me through this process. Everything felt so hard for so long and so much struggle. And as I went through these steps and created these steps, it's just suddenly started to feel easy, like to the point where I can't even sometimes understand how it feels so easy. It feels so foreign to me to have things be easy. I've always kind of made my life a struggle, or felt like circumstance was making it a struggle, and I've lived by that story. And as I've let go of that story and realized that I could let life be easy, I could really let go of what I thought I should be doing and accept who I am and where I'm at, and make the choice also to live intentionally and move forward constantly. That's when things started really aligning. And that's our next step, which is embracing the ease, living from a deeper place, having released the unnecessary weight, and creating a lifestyle that is in alignment with our true desires, with our heart, with our deepest selves, with what we really want out of life and what makes us happy. It's when we feel lighter and we can embrace ease. Makes our being unshakable. It makes our living on purpose effortless. You know, once we're in alignment, it's all happening, and it becomes the opposite cycle of what I talked about in the beginning, the cycle of resistance, and then life resisting us, and a lot of push and pull. This is a cycle that we continue to find life to be easier. We continue to deepen into ourselves further. We continue to find more of our desires, and we continue to build a life that we love and dream of. And that dream becomes a reality. And number 10, my last step, is love as a practice or devotion. And this is what I think comes after, is that kind of step to put something further out into the universe, to give back what we've been receiving, and continue that cycle in a very positive and real way. Devotion is loving as a practice. We must open up to love. We must allow for more love, love of ourselves, love of others, love of life, love of the journey, love of our work. By this point in the process, it should so come naturally. We shouldn't even have to think about it. We should have used this process as what it would feel like falling in love. We are now devoted to ourselves, to our journey, and to our vision. And that just makes me so excited. And I can really attest to being at that point and just feeling madly in love with this process and this journey, and myself, and making my life happen the way I want it to, and taking leadership in my life and my happiness, and deciding that it's a choice I can make to be there. So I hope you're excited about being on this journey with me. That is really one of my main goals as a coach, is to invite you to join me on this path. It's a forever journey. There's going to be bumps, twists, turns, storms, clouds, rainbows, all the things, but we're always trying to seek the light in the darkness. And so I welcome you to get in touch with me more about this process if you're interested. I would love to talk to you. And I have a couple other announcements, and then I'll share how you can get in touch with me. So one of my announcements is I still have spots open in my Write Your Own Rules program, which when you go to my website, you'll be able to find a webinar all about what that program is about. But I also am opening up some spots for coaching that are specifically about going through these steps. If you get in touch with me this week, we can talk about some awesome discounts I have available for you. And you can find me all different ways. Mostly first check out my website, which is www.birchandbasil.com. You'll find information about my coaching on there. And you'll also find information about what I'm about to announce next, which is a wellness retreat I'm hosting. So if you are from Pittsburgh, I would love for you to join me on June 25th at the Iyengar Yoga Institute of Pittsburgh, where I practice massage therapy out of. And we are going to have a full day wellness retreat. It's called Cultivate. It's a retreat day inspiring women to flourish through mindfulness and well-being. Everything is all about conscious living and wellness. We're going to have a yoga class, a pranayama class. We're going to do a moving meditation with 5 rhythms of the soul. I have an Ayurvedic practitioner speaking to you, a woman that has an awesome business called Adopting Identity that really helps build communities and establish how to have positive interracial relationships, which I think is so important to acknowledge the social aspect while dealing with wellness. And so I want to tie that in. We also have a fitness coach talking about body love. We have someone talking about benefits of aromatherapy, someone talking about the law of attraction and manifesting. We're going to have an opening and closing sister circle. So we'll really talk more about opening up to love, setting intentions, aligning with your desires, letting go of fears. We're going to have an awesome avocado toast brunch bar, a juice sampling by Salud Juicery. And we're going to then have a 3-course dinner by Sweet Peaches, which we can network, connect, and just celebrate ourselves and each other over. I am so excited about this day. I want it to be full of laughter, learning, growth, just radiance. So I hope you'll join me. Again, on my website, www.birchandbasil.com, you'll find information about the retreat. You'll find information about coaching. If you're in Pittsburgh, you'll also find information about massage. So I would love for you to get in touch. I offer also free one-time first coaching sessions. So for an hour, we can get to know each other, see if we're a right fit, talk about what you're looking for in a lifestyle coach, and how I can support you. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. I am so excited to share. I know that was a ton of information, so feel free to shoot me a text or an email. Those contacts are both on my website, but my email is just mscourtneysage@gmail.com. So I would love to hear from you. Thank you again, and have a wonderful evening. Take care and be well.